Anyways, good evening, everybody. It's Tuesday, September the 7th, 2021. Welcome to Entering Live with your hosts, Mighty Mike
And AJ Rage.
and Eric the Red. Will probably be checking in shortly. I know he just got back from out of town, probably getting things at the business all back together. Hopefully ready for a big fall and winter season for him.
Exactly. I'm hoping it gets to that point to how Eric had it before. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All this bullshit and stuff.
Yeah, we're talking about our brother Eric's escape room. He owns an escape room in Gresham, Oregon. That's it's an entertainment style venue, interactive. With usually with family and friends, and uh, you know, as did a lot of businesses. COVID really put the wood to him, but he's coming back. He's coming back. So
hey, he's come back strong. So how you doing, brother, man?
I'm okay, man. I'm okay. Just a long day today, busy, long day. But I wanted to talk boxing because quite a few things have developed since we last had a show. And I know it was a holiday weekend, and we decided to take Sunday off. And plus, there was really only a couple of fights we were going to talk about. We figured we could just carry it over to today, talk about it today, get ready for it's a pretty good action-packed weekend coming up. So,
yeah, it really is. Yeah, I'm real excited about talking about some of the fights from this past weekend and stuff too, because a lot of controversy out there for such a small card.
Yeah, and a card that ended up being overall, I think you'd said it. A lot of people were saying overall it just was not a good card. It just the matchups didn't live up to. I mean, to me, any boxing is better than no boxing, but it was a very disappointing card overall. I don't think they made the match with the intention of it turning out that way, but sometimes that's just how the chips fall. It just wasn't a very competitive. It just wasn't a very entertaining card.
No, it really wasn't. And I think once again, it's just one of those situations where, Eddie Hearn, he's trying to sell a product by basically emphasizing and glorifying some of these guys that, let's be honest, aren't going to be really successful if they come over across the ocean over here to the US and stuff. Guys like Maxie Hughes, we're going to talk a little bit about that. And we'll talk about the main event. Conor Benn was back in action. Katie Taylor, his basic group of that he uses quite a bit.
Conor Benn. I mean, I don't know what fight you want to talk about first, but maybe we could just start talking about Conor Benn. Here's a guy that, Eddie Hearn and Matchroom were putting a lot into him. I mean, they're really trying to promote this kid. Obviously he's got the lineage. His father was the great Nigel Benn. As far as I'm concerned, just to put it in a nutshell, to kind of break it down and chop out all the fat, he's nowhere near anything his father was. Not even close.
Not even close.
Not even close. Doesn't have the power, doesn't have the ability, has a bigger mouth than his father ever had. And his father was a bit talkative back in his day. But Conor Benn, just talks, man.
Well, Conor kind of talked himself into a contract with DAZN. I don't think Eddie was really pointing that direction in the beginning, but it just seemed like every time Conor Benn sat down with Eddie and they were doing any kind of ring around the rosy, it always got very uncomfortable. He always put kind of like Eddie in a corner, when are you going to sign me? When are you going to showcase me? I'm the next this, I'm the next this. And I think that there's two sides to it. I think there's one side where Eddie's saying, hey, I'm going to put this guy in my shows. I'm going to go ahead and sign him to shut him up. And then the other part is I'm going to eventually get him in there and see if he's really worth the time. And if he's not, if he getting his ass kicked, then I'm done with this kid. Now I got a little bit of something I could use against him and say, you know what? Well, what happened on this show?
I gave you a shot and you just, you fell apart.
Well, he ended up facing against hardened veteran and Adrian Granados, a guy that we know. And Granados, he's not really a welterweight. Let's be honest.
No. And in fact, in his last fight at welterweight, he got blown out by Danny Garcia.
And probably one of the most brutal beatings he had taken. In no way, shape, or form was it a Conor Benn showcase. The fight, I think the fight was much closer than the scorecards indicated. I know they had it. One judge had it 99-91. Then Steve Gray had it 100-90, and another guy, Janovic, had it 97-93, which is more respectable. That's what I was more around that 97-93. There were some rounds that, could have went either way, because of either the lack of action or because, it was a competitive fight. But Conor Benn caught Granados with big shots. Going into this fight, Conor Benn was very, very straightforward about the fact that this is going to be the worst beating that Adrian Granados has ever suffered. And it wasn't even close to, it probably had Danny Garcia sitting at home going like, really?
You know what it comes down to? It's I mean, you could talk all you want, but when the pressure's on, when it's time to perform, and if you don't perform, I mean, hey, boxing's a short-lived career, man. You only have so many chances to make an impression, and he didn't impress. And on a weekend where all the eyes of boxing were on the zone card, right?
Yeah, because there wasn't
They
really
weren't
much more out
competing
there.
with, yeah, they weren't competing with a PBC card or ESPN Top Rank, anything of that nature. So it's your time to shine. And like you said, nothing against Granados, but Granados is not a full-fledged welterweight. He should be
No.
fighting on 140, and he didn't look all that good. I mean, yeah, I think Connor Ben eked it out, or maybe a little bit more than eked it out. But was it impressive? Not at all. Wasn't impressive at all.
No,
I wasn't impressed at all.
Hello.
Hey, welcome, Eric the Red. Our brother Eric the Red's finally joined us.
Damn it.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
All right. Sorry, guys. I'm late.
No problem, man.
No worries, brother. No worries.
We just
No-
started. We just started.
We just started. You know.
I was actually falling asleep right now. So.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, I almost fell asleep today. It was one of those days, man.
Yeah.
Long weekend. It's you come back from a long weekend. It's like coming back from a vacation. You come
How's
from vacation, you're tired. You're just gonna,
How's the weather over there by you, Mike? Is it hot out there by you and stuff? It's been excruciating out here in Chino Hills.
it's humid. It was hot, but humid today.
Really?
Yeah, I was at an appointment this morning about 10 o'clock this morning. It was already like sweat. I'm like, why is it? It's just, it was humid. But I'm up along the foothills though. So we get like a little cloud cover and a little bit of that moisture gets trapped in this valley. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
yeah.
How's it out there by you, Eric?
Well, I'm still trying to set up, guys. Sorry.
No worries, bro.
No, it's
Is it cool out there right now?
oh damn it.
Looks like Eric's having a little bit of technical difficulties there for Eric the Red.
It's all technical difficulties, man. No, it's okay out here. It's just trying to, get back to the swing of things since we went on that trip for Papa Dave,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's
Hold
awesome, man.
let me see if I can hear all this stuff.
We can
One
hear
moment.
you. We can hear you fine.
Yeah, you sound great, bro.
So I'm well,
good.
the last time we did this, I think I was echoing or something on you guys.
No,
I think it was when you had your phone on, it was echoing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I can hear you guys now. Perfect. So awesome.
awesome.
So,
Let's
anyways,
get
we were just talking about the. We were just talking about the Connor Ben fight. I don't know if you got a chance to see it, Eric. I wasn't exactly, no, you were traveling probably, but
Dude, I drove 2,700 miles in a week. So yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't get much time to watch or do anything. So
what did you guys drive? One of your cars?
both of our cars.
Oh, you took two cars. Yeah.
Yeah, there were 7 of us, so we weren't all going to try and cram into one car, and with the luggage and everything else. So it was good though. It was a good trip. It was a long trip, but it was a good trip. We ended up in the White Mountains of Arizona. And
Is that north? Is that northern Arizona?
It's southeast of Flagstaff. It's high desert, but it's beautiful. It's on the Apache reservation. And we went out horseback riding, and then an overnight camp out with an actual Apache Indian. His name
That's
was
bitching.
Kicker. It was amazing. So those of you that probably know or don't know, but my father-in-law passed away about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago. And that's where he wanted to be. So each of the kids, we took and divided up his ashes into different containers, and all the kids and myself and my wife, when we got out there, it was beautiful. So Kicker, big shout out to Snowy Mountain Stables. They were amazing. But we went on about a 4-hour ride, and we ended up on this mountaintop in this beautiful mountaintop, right? And he was telling us this is where the elk come and they bed down, and you could see sign of them. We saw elk. It was just beautiful. But this is where we spread his ashes. And when we were up there, Kicker sang in Apache to our father-in-law. It was beautiful.
Oh,
man.
that's awesome, dude.
Yeah,
Especially,
it
man.
was awesome.
Wow, I bet you gave you the chills, huh?
Dude, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. So
Wow.
It was
I'm
gorgeous.
getting a little teary-eyed as we're talking about it right now.
Yeah, dude, that's amazing because I mean, we do have a lot of Native American Indian blood in us, believe it or not. And yeah, there's something whenever I give you a good example. I watched the movie Apocalypto again for like the 15th time the other
Love
night.
that movie.
Love it. And granted, they're not technically, Native American Indians, but that lineage goes way back. It's something about watching those movies, man. It kind of does something to me. They're almost empowering. You know what I mean?
Kicker also gave me this bow.
Oh, wow.
It's a handmade bow with actual handmade arrows. He showed me how to shoot it as well. And then, sorry.
This is a boxing show, right?
I'm sorry, but
No,
he helped me to make my own war bow. So
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, and so
That's
we made
bitching, dude.
It was awesome. It was
Those are
truly
the kind of experiences and stuff, like with I call my spiritual advisor, Adam, he's a Blackfoot Indian, but he's been one of those guys that have helped me, at times, when you have questions out there and you really don't know where to ask, for answers and stuff. And sometimes you just got to look at the earth, man, and it'll tell you everything you need to know, man.
It's true.
So
I'm sorry I went off script there for a little bit, but
don't worry about it, bro. That's great, man.
It was powerful. It was very, very powerful.
Well,
And,
it was for a great man, Papa Dave. Really enjoyed my time. So I wish him, rest in paradise, Papa Dave. So let's get back to boxing, guys.
all right,
So,
sorry guys.
No, we were talking about the. Anyways, I mean, there's not really much more to say about the Conor Ben Granados fight.
No.
I mean, Conor Ben wins. What is it? A 10-round unanimous decision. Okay, where does he go? He's going to keep calling out the big names. You're not going to get any big name to go across the pond and fight him over there. And when he fights over here, I mean, he's not going to have the benefit of the referees and the judges and the comfort. So he's going to have to really, I don't know. I mean, start him off slow, real slow.
Well, it looks like right now he's got his eyes set on Danny Garcia for some reason, and I think that makes me laugh. Wrong direction because Danny Garcia just annihilates him. Will Danny Garcia go over the pond? If the money's right, Danny Garcia is going to go anywhere. He don't care. Danny Garcia will fight in Moscow. He doesn't care. But I think it's just a matter of time. A guy at Danny Garcia's level, people are going to say, well, he had that, that bout against Errol Spence. We're going to still say it time and time again. Errol Spence is all hail the king. He's the best in the welterweight division. He's proved it time and time again. Danny Garcia.
And Danny held tough. I mean,
and it held tough and really kind of woke up in the last few rounds and probably kicked himself in the ass when he went back and watched the tape. And I know that Errol Spence was probably like, God, I'm glad Danny, didn't figure it out till like the later part of the rounds. But still, I mean, Danny Garcia is a tough customer and way too big of a bite right now for Conor Ben to even be considering at this point in his career.
Yeah, I agree.
I
agree too.
You guys want to talk about the Katie Taylor fight?
Yeah. We can talk about
just 5 minutes on that. I mean, Katie Taylor once again defends her multiple belts against a girl that I guess hadn't fought in quite a while, right?
Jennifer Hahn is, super, super, super nice girl, really pretty girl too. I mean, you almost want to tell Jennifer Hahn, it's like, you shouldn't be a boxer. She's obviously of this Korean and American descent and stuff, but she's fought the majority of her career at 124. Just recently, as of 2020, she had fought her first fight at 130. She had never fought at 134. This is starting to become a trend with Katie Taylor. I don't know if it's just a lack of quality opponents that are out there and stuff, but it seems like, they're pulling people up to face her and stuff. And I'm not trying to knock Katie Taylor, but I thought the fight was closer in some ways than the scores indicated. They gave Jennifer Hahn no credit for anything. They discredited her with some bogus knockdown. Credit to Katie Taylor that she got an opponent that came in with only one knockout on her resume, because Katie just eats punches like, man, dude, like my son eats pizza, man. It's ridiculous, man. I mean, you can't miss the girl's face, dude.
Yeah, she's just lacking in the defensive area, man. Big time.
Which is really strange to me, because you would think a girl with her prowess and with her experience that she would know how to, feint, how to roll with some of these punches. She doesn't. I mean, she has this bad habit of stepping into everything.
She just comes face first, man, and just lets her hands go. Yeah.
But you know why though, bro? It's real simple. When you're fighting a girl that is moving up literally 2 divisions and has one knockout on her resume, there's not a whole lot to fear. I mean, it's going to take, an act of God for Jennifer Hahn to really tally up the power to stop Katie Taylor. So Katie's able to go in there and do those kind of things. Eventually, Katie's going to have to face somebody who's a little bit more at her level. I know there's been talks out there. You've talked about it quite a bit, Mike, about Amanda Serrano, who's obviously the best in boxing. Amanda would be another person who would have to step up. But based on what I've seen from Amanda in the past few years, it's not going to be a tall order for Serrano to basically hand Taylor her first defeat.
I'm actually just watching a couple of the highlights. She was hitting on the back of the head for
Katie fought really. Katie fought really. I don't know what it was, if it was the DAZN card, but even Maxie Hughes in his fight, we'll talk about that later. They all fought extremely dirty, and absolutely none of them were again as admonished by the referee at all.
No. As is the case whenever you fight in the UK. It is what it is. They can say all they want about the way the fights transpire here in America, but in the UK, the referees out there are 3 steps slower than American referees.
Yep.
They're god awful. I mean, and that's putting it nicely. They're god awful.
They're literally barely a half step up from the Canadian referees. Let's just say
Jesus
that.
Christ. We just got some bad breaking news, guys. God damn it.
But no.
Brandon Figueroa tests positive for COVID, forced to postpone title unification for Stephen Fulton. Son of a bitch. I just said this today. I go, God, I hope neither one of them tests positive for COVID.
You know what, man? This is starting to turn into an excuse.
So they get a flu.
Sorry.
So they got a flu, and they
Well, either way, Renee was supposed to fight on this card. So what does that do? Do they scrap the entire card now?
I don't think so. I think it's got a decent undercard, doesn't it?
I don't know, man. That was the main event.
They
might just scrap the whole damn card.
I'm going to blame Moreno, dude. I think Moreno brings the COVID with him, man. Because how many cards is that now that Moreno's been eliminated from due to COVID? That poor guy, man.
Ridiculous, man.
That's terrible, man.
That sucks.
But keep looking for any more updates on that, Mike, as we're talking about it. We'll just finish up on Katie. But I just, like I said, I mean, in the beginning to the lead up going into this fight, the DAZN does their natural, this big promotional thing calling Katie Taylor the greatest women's boxer of all time and this and that. And I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, I understand everybody kind of does that and stuff, but I think DAZN actually believes that. And, at this point, if Katie's lacking, if she's got to stretch, if she's got to reach down and pull a girl who hasn't fought in a year and a half, 2 divisions up to come and fight her to defend her title, then maybe it's time for Katie Taylor to look for a new division where there's more competition, whether she drops down or she goes up, whatever it is, because obviously this division is not working for her. And it's not going to add to her legacy by beating girls like this, because the casual fan's not going to know, but the boxing fan knows,
Yeah. God damn, this just took the wind out of myself. I was looking forward to that fight. God damn it. Okay. Well, let's talk about the main event, man. Talk about the main event, and then we'll get into we were going to try to get into the breakdown of this fight that was going to happen on the 18th, but that's not happening now. Either way, main event. Josh Warrington rematch Mauricio Lara. As we all know, Mauricio Lara stopped him. What was it? The 8th round?
The 8th round.
Stopped him. And one of the biggest upsets of the year, I think. I mean, it was devastating stoppage. Oh man, I don't even know how to begin with this fight. Man, this was so hard to watch. For the first round was hard to watch because I think on 3 separate occasions. For those of you that don't know, okay, I probably shouldn't have glossed over the results. The fight ended in a second round technical no contest, technical decision, whatever you want to call it, because a headbutt opened up a bad cut on Lara's. I think it was his left eye. Right. So the fight was waved off. The fight was stopped due to the cuts. Didn't go 4 rounds. Could you imagine if it would have happened in the 4th round and they got to the end of the 4th round?
They would have gave the decision to Josh Warrington.
Of course. Josh Warrington in the first round, I saw him. The first time he headbutted Lara, I said, okay, well, maybe that was an accident. By the second and third time, 4th time, 5th time, it was no longer an accident. Yeah. As the first round came to a close, Lara started walking through his punches and landing his own big shots. By the time halfway through the second round, he was walking through Warrington, and you could see it. Warrington was already in 2 rounds. You already saw him starting to like fade. He had that look in his face where he was like, man, I'm hitting this guy, and this guy's just coming at me. And he started landing some big shots. Of course, the announcers completely ignored everything Lara did. Absolutely. I can't even listen to those guys. They're atrocious. Either way, Warrington headbutted his way out of a fight, and then sat on the ring apron, or sat on the outside the ring after the fight, and proceeded to try to calm the people. And, well, this and that, it's unfortunate, and I was ready to knock this guy out. And it's like, No, you were ready to get knocked out. I was giving another 2 rounds, and Lara would have just broke him down.
Yeah, you know the whole thing that really was disheartening for me, the entire lead up going into this fight, was the antics of Warrington leading up to this fight. It was almost like he was trying to convince himself that he had an opportunity, he had a chance against Lara. If you go back and watch the first fight, if the fight was competitive, and in the beginning, Warrington had moments, but once Lara kind of got his fire, going, he got a little warmed up. His punches, I mean, a la, Emmanuel Navarrete, were just cutting through Warrington to the point to where even the UK announcer said, for Josh's sake, him being a brave warrior, maybe they should think about stopping that fight. About that time is when Warrington got put to sleep, and it looked like it could have been a near career-ending situation. The antics that you were seeing from him in his locker room, he's dancing around, he's doing all this kind of stuff, total disrespect to Lara. But I think the biggest disrespect was the fact that I was listening to UK Freddy, and he was talking about his post-fight review, what he thought. He's not trying to come down on Warrington, but he honestly believes Warrington intentionally butted Lara to get this situation, hoping that maybe the cut would get to a situation in the 4th round to where they can go to the judges, he can sneak out that decision and be done with Bronco, send him back to Tijuana. It didn't work out that way. It was an atrocious cut. Lara would have fought with his eye falling out, but I think what really got to me was the Leeds corner, the leadership from Leeds, and how they were pointing to their heart and going like this, like Lara had no heart. Total disrespect to Lara. If I was Lara, I would just scratch it and say, you know what? I already beat this guy. I'm not wasting my time with this guy anymore. I got time. I'm going to move on from here.
Or you come and fight me now on neutral ground. You come and fight me in Las Vegas, Los Angeles. Find a neutral ground. Don't go to the UK anymore because they're just itching to. As evidence with the referee not even giving him a warning.
No.
And multiple times Lara looked at him and you saw the heads clash and you saw the redness, and he looked at the referee with his eyes, and he's looking at the referee like, are you going to say something? Referee completely was
the
oblivious.
Referee turned it on Lara, because if you go back and watch, if you get an opportunity, go back and watch the actual event when Warrington headbutted Lara. I understand Warrington keeps his chin down, he kind of keeps his hands up, but as he hits him, he right away looks at Lara's eye. He knows what he did. In the post-fight, Warrington was emphasized on the fact that he thought it was from a punch, which is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
But what really got to me was when Lara went to the corner, when the referee told him, the referee was like basically like telling Lara what not to do.
Admonishing Lara, yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
But it wasn't to me a good showing from not only Warrington, but from Lara. And the consensus is out there is that Lara was going to beat this guy. It was only a matter of time. He was probably going to beat him well before the 8th round, like it happened last time, because he already knew what he needed to do. There's nothing Warrington could throw at him that was going to hurt him, and everything he threw at Warrington was going to hurt him. Warrington's talking about going in a different direction now. If they do the fight, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But I think it was just I've never, like I said, I've had issues with Josh Warrington going all the way back to the Carl Frampton fight.
I remember, yeah.
I was so livid during that fight, especially fighting against a guy who's a future Hall of Famer and a living legend, the Jackal, Carl Frampton, just a gentleman, an ambassador to the sport. And to watch the dirty tactics that Warrington was able to get away with that helped him win the fight over Frampton was just disgusting. He's done this time and time again. He finally ran into a guy from Tijuana and Bronco Lara that said, you know what, your dirty tactics, I'm from TJ. I'm used to all this shit. And he just knocked him out.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Warren. Yeah. Very, 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 just a poor display of sportsmanship by the referee, an entire Warrington corner. Like you said, the fans, the announcers, everybody. But
as Lara was walking back to his thing, they're throwing beer at the guy.
I think Lara needs to take this and chalk this up, like you said, and be like, I'm done with this guy. They're willing to make an offer for him to fight somewhere on neutral ground. I'm quite sure there was an exercise clause, or the rematch clause exercise for this fight. Now that this has happened, I think he's now got the negotiating power. He could tell Eddie Hearn, hey, no, I'm not coming back here. I'm not coming back here and dealing with these referees. And if anybody on his team, if they're smart, they will stick to their guns and they will hold firm and say, we're not going to come here and fight in this environment anymore. We're not going to do it.
Yeah.
But
like I said, if that would have been the 4th round, I guarantee you they would have went to the judges' scorecards and it would have been 40-36 3 ways.
Well, yeah,
guaranteed.
absolutely. And Lara has negotiating skills. You're absolutely right on that, bro. because in the first fight, they could say, well, it was a fluke. Warrington had an off night, but you saw it in this fight. Lara was already starting to invoke what he had done before the right way and already started to walk through Warrington.
Uppercut.
He was walking through him. He was walking through him.
So the book's open on Lara right now. Obviously, there's going to be companies out there, probably like Golden Boy, you know, whoever is out there are going to probably start looking at Lara, because to me, he's a major player in that division at 126.
Yeah. Excuse me. Well, guys, our was there? You said there was another fight on that card you wanted to talk about?
On that card itself,
no, or is that it?
No, well, there was the Maxie Hughes, and I mean, you got to ask yourself. I mean, you know, Maxie Hughes ends up winning what's considered an upset over Giovanni, you know, Stefan. Stefan is not a guy who's a world beater, you know. I mean, compared to Maxie Hughes, is kind of like a local club fighter kind of guy. Comes in with a 23-5 record, but it shows you maybe things are kind of thinning out at the zone, because supposedly, rumor has it, the zone signed Maxie Hughes immediately right after the fight, which was very confusing to me. Why you're going to sign a guy who won a subpar, you know, fight over a guy who really isn't anything, you know, in boxing today. So I don't know.
Yeah. There's a couple of things that we didn't really get a chance to touch on last show we had.
Oh, hey, real quick before we move on from there, Eric, what did you think about Warrington's tactics? Did you get a chance to watch that?
Yeah, I literally, while you guys were talking, I watched both those rounds, and the guy was horrible.
Yeah, he's dirty, man.
I mean, dirty. You could see him rubbing his head.
You just don't land 6 headbutts in a 2-round span. Most of the time, 6 headbutts in an entire 10, 12-round fight is cause for alarm. 6 in 2 rounds, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, they had a thing with Larry Hazard. Larry Hazard said that if he'd have been the referee during that fight, he would have probably disqualified Warrington, because he felt that was a blatant headbutt from Warrington when he hit Lara, because he was already coming off of one, no warning. But the way that he set himself and positioned it was perfect. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he knows how to do it. Like you said, this is not his first go around with questionable fighting style. The Frampton fight. Not only that, I think you can go back and watch a lot of Josh Warrington's fights, and he's a bit of a rough and tumble guy. He's not the slickest guy, but at some point you just cross that line between being a roughhouse tactics and dirty tactics, and he crossed that line big time in this fight. Big time. Everybody knows it.
He did the same thing when he beat Kid Gallahan. I don't know if you ever saw that foul fest that he had with Kid Gallahan when he won that disputed split decision, which I thought Kid Gallahan won the fight. Gallahan must have been hit 13 times low. I mean, it was ridiculous what this guy had to go through. And Warrington's always been gifted these things.
You know, it's a shame in boxing when we have to sit here and waste our time or waste part of our show talking about it seems like it's every week now, or every show where we're having to talk about just the injustices in boxing, whether it be from a dirty fighter, a corrupt set of judges, a corrupt referee, and a corrupt. It gets tiresome, right? Just every once in a while, I just want to be able to come in and talk about the fights and say, hey, the best man won. And it seems like it's never the case lately, right?
Oh, no, you're absolutely right. And unfortunately, as long as we got guys like Josh Warrington, you know, taking up the airspace on shows like on platforms like The Zone, it's not going to get any better. I think guys like that, if Eddie Hearn wants to do himself a little bit of credit, you know, bring a little bit of credibility to The Zone, which it probably really needs right now at this point, focus on guys like Kid Gallahan, maybe some of these other fighters, and kind of get away from the Josh Warringtons, because the Josh Warringtons, he's just not good for the sport. You know, he's not as good as his record indicated going into the fight against Lara. He's won numerous questionable decisions over Lee Selby, over Kid Gallahan, and others. Take away all the fouls in which he should have been disqualified by Frampton. I mean, that's 3 straight losses right there. Yeah. So Lara just kind of finished, which should have been taken care of a long time ago.
Let's jump on a couple of the topics that we didn't get a chance to talk to. There was some fights that took place at the Army last night in Minneapolis. I watched them. They really weren't, I don't know. They're just, to me, they're not even worth mentioning. Okay. Let's talk about some of the things that have transpired in the last couple of weeks in boxing. And we'll try to be brief on them. There's a lot of them. Okay. Obviously, we want to spend as much time as possible on the Canelo-Caleb Plant fight. Maybe give a little bit of I know it's early, but a little bit of our initial thoughts before the fight hype builds. Oscar De La Hoya was supposed to fight Vitor Belfort this coming Saturday on a Triller card to take place in Florida. Oscar tests positive for COVID. He's in the hospital. I don't know how authentic it looked. He didn't really look all that sick to me. I mean, to me, he looked like he just had a hangover, but that's what it looked like to me. But either way, so that fight's off. Evander Holyfield steps up, right? Evander Holyfield's not going to fight Vitor Belfort. I feel bad for Belfort because Belfort, the contracted weight for that fight was 185. So he's probably doing everything in his power to shed the weight. Now there's no way Vander Holyfield's coming in at 185. So now Vitor Belfort can eat again. But how much of his power did he leave in the gym trying to cut down to 185? Because he's a big guy. He's a physically big, muscular guy that used to fight around the low 200s when he was
but
MMA guy.
But like we know, size doesn't mean shit. And let's be honest. I mean, Oscar is a dangerous fighter. Holyfield can kill you. Even at this age, Holyfield has always been a physical specimen. He's a guy. I mean, it's not going to end well for Victor.
it's not. And Vitor lately in his last few MMA fights has shown a very suspect chin.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things where the first time he got knocked out and the second time where it seemed like it was easier. It was almost like watching Ivan Baranchyk a week ago when we watched Ivan Baranchyk fight, or a week and a half ago, whenever that was. It seemed like any little nothing punch from a nothing puncher was hurting him and just putting him on, on wobbly legs.
Yeah.
Either way, that fight takes place on Saturday on Triller. I won't pay for it. I'll read the results the following day.
Yeah, exactly.
Oscar Valdez. Let's talk about the Oscar Valdez situation. I didn't get into too much detail and research a whole lot about it because I didn't want to hear people what they were saying. A lot of people were saying we're trying to discredit him and take away his performance over what is his name is escaping me right now.
You're talking about Beltran, Miguel Burchell.
Burchell, his victory over Burchell earlier in the year. I mean, just a masterful performance. Now, granted, this was Las Vegas, Nevada. They tested pre-fight and post-fight. His results, A and B samples, both came back clean. I don't know what chemical. It's some type of a diuretic. It's not like it's an antibiotic steroid.
It's not an enhancing any type of a drug that does any kind of performance enhancing. It's a diuretic to help with balance weight loss. Basically,
if anybody takes any over-the-counter things like pre-workout drinks or C4 or anything like that, some of these things have some stimulants in it, and they may have a measure of diuretics in it because they're processed in these facilities where they just cross-contaminate probably left and right. I'm not saying I don't personally do not believe Oscar Valdez is a dirty fighter.
No, he's not.
Not at all. I do not believe that. He's never had a history of testing positive for anything. And like I said, it isn't like this is like clenbuterol or Winstrol or any of the things out like Big Baby Miller, the 5 things he tested positive for that were actually performance enhancing steroids. This is some type of a mild diuretic that it was like a picogram or a nanogram. Either way, the fight's still sanctioned, right? The WBC sanctioned the fight. It's taking place on an Indian casino in Tucson. A lot of people are up in arms. Namely, one of them, probably the most high-profile one, in my opinion, is Timothy Bradley, who calls the fights for Top Rank and is openly just been out there viciously bashing Oscar Valdez, bashing the entire.
Well, he's doing it for one reason, and we all know the reason why he's bashing him
because of Shakur Stevenson,
so he can eliminate Oscar from any kind of negotiating talks with Shakur Stevenson. Because at the end of the day, we know what's going to happen when Shakur Stevenson steps in the ring with Oscar Valdez. Shakur Stevenson has never been in a real fight like Oscar Valdez has done time and time again. Shakur Stevenson has never even fought anybody close to the quality of a monster like a Miguel Burchell, or would even venture into that land.
No,
they're trying to tarnish Oscar Valdez's reputation so that some of these fighters like Shakur Stevenson and a few others could sidestep Oscar, saying, well, we're not going to take that risk because we don't know because of his past dealings.
Yeah. And then the Reynosos with, a few years ago when Canelo had tested positive for what was it? The tainted meat, whatever. I'm not excusing Canelo, but that's in the past. As far as I know, Canelo's tested positive. Every test he's probably taken since then has been clean. He's been clean. So we can't, you know what I mean? It's like, we just that's the past is the past. Now it's funny. The next fight we want to talk about, the whole thing, just kind of spread like wildfire. It became an Oscar Valdez situation that morphed into a Reynoso situation. Now they're accusing everybody in the Reynoso stable, Ryan Garcia, Canelo Alvarez, every single one of them. It turned into this thing where Caleb Plant interjected himself into it. And if Canelo didn't need a reason to want to go and knock this guy out, now he has a reason. Yep. He's got a big reason because Caleb Plant was out there having a basically like a Twitter, like a keyboard warrior, and he doesn't have to do that because Caleb Plant's a professional fighter. You expect that from some other guys, right? You expect that from
Well, you expect that
fans
from a
and
guy who's
fan
on a guy coming up. You know what I'm saying?
You expect that in the UFC because that's kind of been that's
Yeah.
been the formula to sell fights is just shit talk. Caleb Plant didn't need to open his mouth. He should that doesn't affect my fight whatsoever because at the end of the day, hey, if he suspected Canelo could possibly be doing something illegal, well then your management team, the PBC, whoever, Al Heyman should have put in the contract, hey, we're going to do pre-fight testing and post-fight testing and whatever. But now it almost seems to me that Caleb Plant now is trying to find a way out because
he can't. He's locked in with the thing, and he'll lose his title. His title.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, he'll lose his title, but like I said,
but he'll lose his title. Let's be honest.
If he thinks he's going to get Canelo so upset that where Canelo loses focus and eliminates the game plan, that's not the fighter that he's going to have staring across the ring in several weeks' time. That's not the guy.
When is that fight, Mike? Canelo.
That fight is supposed to take place October now, right? Is October?
Yeah, October, yeah.
It was supposed to be September. It got pushed back to October. I want to say the first or second week of October.
Huh.
Yeah, I think the thing with Caleb Plant too is Caleb's put himself in a situation now where
no, I'm sorry. October 4th is Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, if it ever comes off, knock on wood. I believe it's a couple weeks after that is when the Canelo Caleb Plant fight is supposed to take place.
Okay.
But getting back what I was saying was Caleb Plant just took himself from a situation where Canelo was going to beat him, win the title, but now Canelo's going to beat him. And then it's like that guy that you don't like that you beat up and you get him on his back and then you give him that one last shot just to kind of say, I want you to remember this one more than all the other punches I threw. That's what it's going to come down to because Caleb Plant, to me, honestly, is probably the easiest opponent Canelo's going to face in his recent opponents. And that goes back to even guys like Callum Smith and others, because Caleb Plant doesn't bring anything. Yeah, he's a little cute. He's got a little speed. He's got no punch. He takes punches. I don't see where he thinks he's got an advantage because Billy Joe Saunders will dance circles around Caleb Plant, to me personally. Plus, he's got a punch. And if Joe Saunders wasn't able, if he's an elevated version of Caleb Plant, and we saw what happened when Canelo landed his first big, strong, clean punch of the entire fight. What happened? What happens to Caleb Plant?
Yeah, I agree. I think Caleb Plant, like I said, I think he's a good boxer. I think he should just stick to being a good boxer and just stick to being a fighter. All this nonsense in social media and stuff. I mean, he just went back and forth. They just went on and on and on and on. Then other fighters started chiming in. All kinds of people started chiming in.
That's
now Andre Ward chimed in. Now apparently Andre Ward is helping Caleb Plant prepare for this fight. Like that's going to do anything. So what are you going to teach him how to hold and hitting the nuts for 12 rounds? That's all you're going to learn from Andre Ward. It just cracks me up. These guys are so insanely jealous of Canelo because aside from the one loss to Floyd Mayweather, 7-8 years ago, the guy's pretty much been the face of boxing and they just can't stand it. He reached a plateau that Andre Ward could have taken an elevator 100 flights up and still been looking up at him. It's just
Andre Ward, like Timothy Bradley, they don't get it. The fact that Canelo faced his fears in boxing. He knew that the only way that he was going to be able to step out of that shadow of that defeat he could have just had a mediocre career and a successful career without taking these big risks and said, hey, my only loss was to a guy who ended up retiring at 50-0, the great Floyd Mayweather, whatever. But Canelo didn't do that. Canelo basically put that loss to the back of his mind and just let it drift away. Like so many other fighters need to do, but they don't do it. And he just focused on what he needed to do next. And all he's done is systematically take apart every opponent that's gotten in front of him since then. I know there's still some matchups that people want to see, possibly another a trilogy fight against Gennady Golovkin, which honestly, I don't see it being competitive based on the fact. I'm going to say it again. It's like a racehorse. Okay. You could have two racehorses racing, they have this really tough, they go nose to nose and it's basically a dead heat. And then one racehorse goes on to face the best and the best and the best goes over to Dubai. The other one just kind of takes, whatever's out there, locally, at the track. When they get back together, you know what? It's not going to be the same race again. It's not going to be the same fight. One guy is used to elevated himself to a certain level. He's already learned how to take punches from a bigger guy. So when he gets in there against a guy who's already faced, that's a smaller guy, it's like, that's all you got. You know, it just doesn't make sense. But like I said, credit to Canelo for doing what he's doing. It's good for boxing, but it's unfortunate for guys like Tim Bradley and Andre Ward, who glorify guys like Bud Crawford, who's doing everything wrong. And basically, to my personal opinion, is a black eye to the sport of boxing.
Yep.
Yeah. They're quick to pass
Very well
judgment.
said.
Pass judgment on Oscar Valdez without really knowing the facts. They're not knowing anything more than what they're reading in the newspapers. But then we'll praise a guy like Shakur Stevenson, who openly outside the ring has had major issues with his personality, with getting in fights. I mean, I don't know if you saw a video a couple of years ago where him and some friends were in Miami, and they were basically harassing this guy's girlfriend. And when the man, like any man would do, try to step up and stand up for his girlfriend,
Shakur ran like a little bitch, and his friends came in and took care of it.
Well, no, they all started punching on the guy. The guy was on the ground, and they were all, and then he hit him when it was down and ran like a little girl. I mean, not one word was uttered from Timothy Bradley or Andre Ward. But we understand that. We understand why they're doing what they do. Andre Ward has a management stake in Shakur Stevenson,
which I think is a complete. You know, I mean, that's something. How can you be an analyst and then have an interest in a boxer? That just doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, that's like being a judge. You know,
to me, it's a bit of a conflict.
It's a big conflict of interest,
yeah.
And I don't understand why they get away with it, but. That's Bob Arum. You know, Bob Arum's allowed these guys to be his spokespieces, and people don't understand. I had a conversation with somebody earlier today, and we talked about spokespieces for some of these platforms like DAZN, Top Rank, and others. And they don't understand that the people that they put out there to speak for them, to call these fights, you know, objectively or non-objectively, it really affects the entire platform, and it affects the entire card. DAZN has had his issues with Sergio Mora. We know where Sergio Mora is. We know the fighters he likes. We know the fighters he hates. You know what I'm saying? It's just the way it is. But when it comes to Tim Bradley and Andre Ward, it's a whole nother beast. I actually look forward to when I see a Jamel Herring or a Keith Thurman or somebody that gets on there so that I don't got to listen to these guys the whole entire time, because it's almost like they're not watching the fight.
They have an agenda. They have an agenda. They're following the script.
That's what the mute button's for, guys.
As far as I'm concerned, I could sum up Andre Ward and Timothy Bradley this way. Two guys, right?
Two woulda, coulda, shouldas.
No, two fighters whose biggest wins of their careers were non-wins.
Yeah, were non-wins.
Because Bradley did not beat Pacquiao and Ward did not beat Kovalev.
Nope.
Plain and simple. I'll take that.
Ward wasn't even going to take that fight until after Kovalev got arrested, and it was said that Kovalev was on a vodka binge
well,
out.
Either way, he didn't win the fight. He knows he didn't win the fight. And everybody with any shred of decency and integrity will admit it. He didn't win that fight.
Well, anybody that doesn't think they were telling the truth, go watch the fight. Turn the volume down and watch the fight, and you tell me how you scored that fight. I had Kovalev winning hands down.
Yeah, I had maybe 8 rounds to 4. And those 4 rounds that I gave Ward were towards the end, and they were close rounds. But you score the knockdown, the multiple times you hurt Ward. If you take the fighters and you switch positions, would anybody have said Kovalev won that fight? No. If he was the guy that got knocked down and got hurt and just got outthrown and outlanded for 12 rounds?
Andre Ward got beat for 12 rounds.
It's very simple. His manager, James Prince, and Rock Nation at that time were throwing a lot of money in boxing, and Rock Nation. They're one of the absolute embarrassments to ever get involved in the sport of boxing. They're the ones that left the poor kid Joshua. What's his name? Daniel Franco.
Daniel Franco.
The kid with the brain injury, and they just cast him aside like worse than you would cast a dog at a pound. They cast this kid aside, and that was Rock Nation. And James Prince, we all know about James Prince. He's an absolute despicable human being. He's a criminal. He's a criminal that walks.
Straight criminal.
He's a straight criminal.
He's not the kind of guy that you're going to see walk around at the Staples Center mingling with the other fighters and promoters.
No, he's constantly has bodyguards around him, constantly, and there's a reason for that.
Yeah,
constantly. Because there's a price on his head, and eventually,
shit catches up to you, man. Shit catches up,
It does.
I don't like dirty, dude. It eventually will catch up to you, man.
Yep.
But
very true.
What's your take on that, Eric? I mean, as far as like some of these dirty dealings that are going on in boxing and some of these analysts and how they're calling fights.
You know what? I said just a second ago, that's what the mute button's for. I can't, dude, I can't watch these fights anymore with the commentators, especially over the pond. You know what I mean? I just can't. I literally mute it. I'd rather just, hear the boxing sounds in my head, and actually commentate or, watch the fight instead of having to get pissed off because nobody's seeing the fight for what it is.
Well, what the obvious is, I mean,
it pisses me off.
For myself personally, it's pretty bad when I actually can tolerate Chris Algieri rather than have to listen to Timothy Bradley and Andre Ward. I mean, a guy who really doesn't know a whole lot about boxing. Let's be honest. I mean, you hear the guy talk, he doesn't know shit and grins about boxing.
Who's that?
You get fighter
Chris
A
Algieri.
versus, you get fighter A versus fighter B. Fighter A is doing everything in his power. Fighter B hits him once. Oh, fighter B is doing great. Fighter B, you can absolutely tell where they're coming from, where their vested interest is.
Well, I think the thing is that people got to understand something, that in every sport, the networks and the money behind it have already have a winner. They've already got a winner in mind, and they're going to do every angle that they can to focus whether that person wins legitimately. If it's close, then we can balance it out that way. As long as we get that win, we've already got the t-shirts printed. We got to go this way. It's the same thing in boxing. It's the same thing in MMA, football, everything. You see it every single time. Media. It doesn't change. Yeah, it does. It's never going to change. The only thing you could do is exactly what you said, Eric. Turn the mute button, put the mute button on or whatever like this. But
watch the fight.
That's not going to change the decision. As long as you have the same group of referees that are the judges are continuously destroying careers. And I'm going to say that, destroying careers.
Yeah.
I mean, look what happened to Maloney. I know Maloney pulled up a stinker in the last one, but the guy, like you called it, bro, he peaked. He was ready to do what he did. You called it too. You said, I don't think he's going to be able to come back and be that same fighter again. You know what I'm saying? So you just never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, they destroy careers. They do. There's the difference between a guy being a world champion and a guy just being another fighter, because really nobody remembers second place. They don't.
Well, that's what makes this boxing format a little bit different too. I'm sorry, bro. We're not out here going holla holla to my boy James out in St. Louis and all this. This is about boxing, man. Whether you like what we say, you don't like what we say, we have our favorites. We have the guys that we just completely have this disdain for. But at the end of the day, it's about their performance and what they're able to do on that given day without any biasness from either the corner, the media, the judges, the ref, or whatever. That's what we try to do.
Yeah, we'll give credit where credit's due. I think a lot of guys that are cheerleaders for the sport, whether they're the announcers, right? The announcers, whoever, the Trillers of the world, the Steve Alberts. I'm sorry, what's his name?
Al Bernstein.
Al Bernsteins of the world, the Sergio Moras. I mean, they're doing more damage to the sport than they know. See, I was talking to somebody a week ago. I didn't watch that fight, but I heard about the fight. The Jake Paul versus the UFC guy, right? Mm-hmm. And I was talking to it, and I said, what Showtime is doing right now, right? It's one thing to get mad about Showtime for giving these guys a platform and letting them make all this money, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, they're taking the fast money, right? They're taking the short money, Showtime, because they're basically saying, hey, we're going to capitalize right now on this guy's success. Boxing be damned, because at the end of the day, you're hurting boxing.
Well, because the careers that they're already hurting.
No, but let me finish. So if you got the average average American citizen out there, sports fan, and he goes, man, these guys like Jake Paul could just get in there and just be a boxer and make all these millions of dollars, right? I mean, you're not helping your sport. You're taking the short money, the quick money, right? Yeah. Right.
It's the same argument that we have with MMA, bro. When you saw guys fighting for world titles in their second and third fight.
Yeah.
We've said it in time and time again. It's a long process. We know fighters out there that are amazing fighters that can't get a fight. We know guys out there that have been fighting, just trying to get that next level guy
and getting it ripped off.
It takes a long time. There's a reason why they call it the sweet science. There's a reason why it's like bookwork. It's mental. It's not just physical. It's not just about going out there. It's not the a la Tyson days. That doesn't work with everybody. The Jake Paul debacle, he's yet to even really fight a real fighter. Let's be honest. Fighting a guy that's 40 years old that hasn't even won an MMA fight in 4 years, that's half your size, doesn't do any credit, especially when you almost get knocked out. Now he's going around saying, well, I'm retired. You're absolutely right, bro. It doesn't help the sport. the only reason why he was able to get that platform was because of his notoriety through YouTube and the stupid antics in which he gained that notoriety. Without that notoriety, he was nobody.
As far as I'm concerned, as it pertains to boxing, he is a nobody.
He's still
he wouldn't step foot into a real boxing gym and spar anybody. He wouldn't spar a legitimate 135 pounder because he'd get knocked out. What makes me mad is, like I said, guys like Steven Espinosa, right? So instead of Espinosa, because they put on a pretty good, if you guys remember a few months back, we were excited about the Showtime lineup that they came out with. Remember they came out, this was a few months back, and this list of all these great fights, quite a few of them didn't happen because of COVID or whatever. But so they figured, okay, well, you know what? Let's stop the bleeding. Let's make a quick cash grab real quick. Let's rob the bank really quick. Hey, yeah, we might get thrown in jail afterwards, but for 24 hours after we rob that bank, we're going to eat good and we're going to party and we're going to do this and that. They're taking the short money and the quick money. They're not thinking long term, because long term it hurts the sport. As far as I'm concerned, Showtime will be gone from boxing, and I'm going to call it here in another year to year and a half. They'll be gone. They will be gone because they're
like Showtime. I mean, they're like HBO. Same, they're going down that same road as HBO did.
Yeah.
But the thing is too, is that the situation, Eric, I'm going to circle back and let you, because I want you to finish your statement. But
circle back.
But
I hate that term.
The thing with Showtime is, you could have a guy out here that's portraying, like you said, bro, portraying to be a boxer, but not fighting real boxers, but claiming he's a boxer, and then claiming he's going to be the best in the sport. But you see, in order to do that, eventually you have to fight a real fighter. And when you mention guys like Canelo and others, it's just, it's ludicrous to even that shows you the mentality of so many people out there that they would even entertain this. To me, when I hear that stuff, I don't even get angry anymore. I just kind of go like, because I know there's no truth behind it. Because if the man was standing right next to me, and if on the other side of me was a guy like Canelo Alvarez, I said, okay, now I want you to say what you just said right now. It'll never be said. Okay. Yeah. We always say it. Boxers don't get afraid. They're not afraid of anybody. Okay. At this level, they're not afraid, but they got common sense. Okay. A guy like John Molina is not going to walk up and talk shit about a guy like Deontay Wilder, and then, knowing that he could walk up and possibly, interact with him later on. It's common sense. These are all antics. These are all just little things that they're doing. That's why I've lost respect for so many people in the industry. And I make a list. I got a list, not just music people, but products, you name it, that I'm never going to forgive based on what's going on in this world today. And I'm never going to go back.
Yeah.
And when I look at guys like Al Bernstein, who I respected for so many years, watching, growing up, watching the Friday night fights on ESPN, and to watch the circus sideshow that he's become, this corporate butt boy. He's like the goofy uncle that smoked weed for the first time. It drives me nuts. And I tell you right now, I have no respect for the guy.
No, I've lost all respect for him as well.
You know what?
All respect for Timothy Bradley as a fighter, because I respect him
too
as a fighter. With this latest outburst against Oscar Valdez without really knowing the facts.
Oh yeah, you didn't even mention about what he said.
No, he said he apparently is quoted saying, "I hope Oscar Valdez gets knocked out," and this and that. And it's like, listen, look, at knockouts are part of boxing, but we all just witnessed about a week ago that young 18-year-old girl who died in Montreal. Zapata was her name. She died right there in the ring, basically. Well, not in the ring, but she pretty much was all but brain dead in the ring. They had her on life support for 5 days before they finally, pulled the plug on. Either way, to talk about people getting knocked out, it's one thing to say, I hope a guy loses. The classier thing to say, the intelligent thing to say would be, if this is true, I hope Oscar Valdez gets what's coming to him. Yeah, but to just come out and be ignorant, but then again, I'm expecting a lot out of Timothy Bradley because he's probably not a very intelligent person. All you got to do is take one look at him and listen to him talk. He's not a very intelligent person. The only one that probably says more asinine things that's ever behind the mic is Bernard Hopkins, because at least with Timothy Bradley, when he says it, you kind of say, okay, he's got somewhat of a command of the English language. Bernard Hopkins has zero command of the English language and spouts off the dumbest shit in the world. Like, he was basically accusing Errol Spence of faking an eye injury, a retinal tear. It's like, some of these guys, man, you see the common denominator here is they're all fighters that are jealous. They're jealous of a guy like Oscar Valdez, because you could take all 50 of Bernard Hopkins fights and take the best moments out of everyone, and it still won't be as exciting as a Canelo Alvarez or a Oscar Valdez fight. It just won't. Andre Ward, the same thing. Timothy Bradley was only exciting when he was getting blasted around the ring by Ruslan Provodnikov.
There's no shortcuts in boxing to success. Everything starts in the gym. Everything starts with hard work.
Unless you fight on Triller or Showtime, then there's a definite shortcut to thing. All you gotta do is be a YouTube idiot, and then you're gonna make
so
money.
Eric, I'm sorry, bro, Eric the Red, dude. So you had something you were talking about earlier, and I rudely cut you off. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. You know what? All right, I just want to give a quick shout out to my older brother AJ. Dude, I don't know where you come up with the phrases that you come up with, but you come up with some awesome phrases, brother.
I got the gift of gab, dude.
I'm not kidding. I am not worthy, man. Some of the things that you come up with are just, I'm wondering, do you like sit up at night and come up with these phrases and practice them in your head?
I'm only see that I'm pointing right here. Look at I'm pointing. See, I'm only as good as this guy next to me because he's the one that corrects me about 87% of the time.
Who's that?
Oh, Mikey.
You, Mike.
Oh,
he, if it wasn't for him, dude, I'd probably, walk around with my foot in my mouth and one in my mouth, one in my ear, one coming out of my butt, so it is what it is.
Guys, both of you guys absolutely amaze me with your knowledge. I'm kind of the layman on the outside because I'm always so busy doing other things, but
what makes you so important in this format, Eric, is the fact that you don't have this objective way. You're not looking to the right. You're not looking to the left. You're just looking at the actual event, whether you know the guys or you don't know the guys. And it's not hard to pick a winner. Okay. Yeah. It's the guy who gets hit the less, the guy who throws more punches, the guy who's, dictating the actual pace of the fight.
Yeah.
For some reason, most boxing fans and most judges and most referees forgot that aspect, that we still have eyes. They haven't taken that privilege away from us yet. So we can still see things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw some training footage right now. It just popped up on my phone of Munguia. He's now up in the high altitude.
God, he looks like a fucking beast, dude.
He's apparently they're working on a left hook because he's throwing this left hook to Fat Fernando's. He's working the midst with him, man. He's throwing with some real power, man, power. So that's a punch I've been wanting Jaime to develop for years. I'm not talking the left hook to the body, the left hook upstairs. If he could develop that left hook, boom, boom.
He's already got the hook to the body.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, and he devastates people with that. Imagine getting hit in the head with that instead. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That would be a game changer for him.
Yeah.
Well, for Munguia.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I actually I'm trying to. Oh, I got it right here. I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys real quick.
Oh yeah, you can share your screen.
So I'm sitting here, I'm looking at some give me 1 second, guys. I'm sorry. I don't think I can get busted for this. So I'm sitting here looking at these pictures of Jaime, dude. I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude. I mean, he just looks, he don't look like that little boy anymore, dude. I mean, he's an absolute
he's definitely
turning into a man, bro.
Dude, and that's what people don't understand is that, Jaime's a beast, dude. I mean, he's only getting stronger. He's only getting bigger. I mean,
well, dude, if you know his dad, Jaime Sr. is a big man. I mean, he fought at heavyweight. I mean, Jaime, we knew eventually, and I've been saying this for the last few years, eventually he's going to get that man strength, dude. And when he gets that man strength, because the chin's already there. He's got the chin. He's got the endurance. He's got, what I'm saying? Once that strength kicks in, fudge.
Yeah. Well, I think old man strength. Once he gets that man strength, you're right. There's a whole difference. I mean, AJ, you'll know this when Colt gets a little bit older, and even though
he's already got it right now, dude.
No, I'm just saying. But even though he may be as big as you, or maybe even bigger than you, you're still going to be stronger than him. Like my sons. My sons are 24 and 23. I'm still stronger than them.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about Jaime Munguia is that, we talked about some of these guys in these platforms, obviously guys like Sergio Mora, who for some reason he despises Jaime for whatever reason. I don't know what it is. Maybe because he knows that in real world, a guy like Jaime walks to him, it's simple. It's simple work for the day, but the world's still new to Jaime. He's perfect. He's undefeated. He's a guy who's, still got a long ways to go just to hit 30, and he's developing and he's growing. You look at the fight with Montiel against Charlo, and everybody made a big deal about Montiel being this tough guy, but nobody mentioned the fact of what Jaime did to Montiel. And Montiel was the A side going into that fight. He was the guy who they were pumping up to be the big guy, what I'm saying, with Golden Boy. And Jaime just put this guy to sleep, and nobody mentions it, but it's okay because you could be the quiet assassin because eventually they're going to have to face this guy. I know right now they're talking about possibly Jaime fighting Derevyanchenko, this will be the worst beating Derevyanchenko has ever sustained as a professional. Jaime will not only beat him, Derevyanchenko will have his successes because he's slick. But once that power sets in, if he was unable to handle the power and the versatility that Charlo threw at him, it's a fucking nightmare when you face Munguia.
Yeah,
I agree.
I agree.
You know?
I agree. All right, guys. So we've been at it for about an hour now. 7:01 right now on the West Coast. What do you guys think? Are we good? Anything else you guys want to talk about?
What do you got? We got any fights that you want to talk about that are coming up this week?
We have that Triller card happening on Saturday with Evander Holyfield versus Vitor Belfort. Hey, I'm glad Evander's going to get a payday. You know, I don't know what his financial situation is, but I'm happy for him. Gotta love Evander Holyfield, and anybody that thinks it's just some old guy getting off the couch going to jump in the ring, they just are sadly mistaken. That man's probably never left the boxing gym.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to fight him, dude. And you know me, I'll fight anybody, and I don't want to fight. That guy is just no, dude. He's a monster.
You might have to bite off his ear or something.
Seriously, he's Canelo before Canelo was Canelo. He's a guy who didn't shy away from anybody.
Fought everybody. Guy gave up height, weight, strength, reach, you name it. Youth.
Yep.
Man, he turned Mike Tyson from a pit bull to a puppy. That's what it comes down to. A pit bull to a puppy.
It's true.
So true.
Take us out, bro.
All right, guys. Hey, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Don't forget, we'll be back here on Sunday to talk about, I guess maybe we could talk about that Triller card. Maybe there'll be some more developments with the fights ongoing. Maybe, I mean, it doesn't look like they're going to pull in a replacement opponent for the Fulton Figueroa fight, because that was unification about.
Come on and talk about it, see what happens. You know.
Yeah. Oh my God, this is going to be horrible.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we'll discuss it on Sunday. We'll be back Sunday at 5:00 on the West Coast. For all of you, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like Colt says, subscribe, share, hit the bell notification. We're trying to stay more regular now. What else what am I missing? What am I missing? That's it, right? That's Colt's little spiel, right?
Yeah.
Like and subscribe, hit the bell.
Like and subscribe.
All right, guys. Thanks.
It's good to see my brothers, guys.
Good to see you guys. Hey, Eric, good luck with the business, man. Hope you have a good week. AJ, good luck with everything.
Yeah.
For all of us at Enter the Ring Live, Mighty Mike.
AJ Rage.
And Eric the Red.
Have a good week. Have a good night, everybody. Have a good Tuesday.
Good night. Be everybody safe out there.
See you later, guys.